Hold your hand in front of you right now. Spread your fingers apart. See the thin membrane of skin connecting the base of each finger. Most people never notice it, but that subtle webbing between your fingers is one of evolution's strangest mysteries, because no other ape has it. Chimps do not have it. Gorillas do not have it. Only humans carry this peculiar trait. And here is something even stranger. You were born completely helpless. Every single human baby enters this world unable to do almost anything for themselves. Put a newborn chimp on its mother's chest, and it instinctively grabs her fur, holds on tight. The grip is powerful, automatic, no learning required. Put a human baby on their mother, and they simply slide off. We lack the gripping reflex that every other primate possesses. Our hands cannot hold on to anything at birth. Tonight, we are going to explore one of the most peculiar gaps in human evolution. Why are we the only primates that cannot swim at birth? If you are using this to fall asleep, perfect. This mystery has waited millions of years. It can wait a few more hours while you drift off. Subscribe and stick around. Now think about this. Drop almost any mammal into water, and something remarkable happens. Dogs paddle instinctively. Horses swim from their first moment. Mice, elephants, cows, they all know exactly what to do the second they touch water. Nobody taught them. The behavior is hardwired. Their nervous systems contain swimming programs that activate automatically upon water contact. But throw a chimpanzee into deep water and it drowns. Gorillas avoid rivers like death traps. Orangutans panic at the mere sight of deep pools. And human babies, despite all our supposed intelligence, flail helplessly when submerged. We share this strange disability with our closest relatives. All the great apes, chimps, gorillas, orangutans, bonobos, and us. None of us can swim instinctively. The Congo River is so wide and deep that it has shaped the evolution of entire species. On the north side, live chimpanzees. On the south side, live bonobos. For over 1 million years, these close relatives have been separated by water they simply cannot cross. They never learn to swim across it. The river is an impenetrable barrier. Water that any dog could cross keeps entire species apart for geological timescales. The leading theory is deceptively simple. Sometime around 20 to 25 million years ago, our ancestors moved into the trees. They became arboreal, and living in trees meant they rarely needed to swim. Crossing water meant leaping between branches instead, using fallen logs as bridges. Walking upright through shallow streams, swimming became unnecessary. So evolution stopped maintaining the instinct. Generation after generation, the swimming instinct became unnecessary. Evolution does not keep things around if they serve no purpose. Use it or lose it. And our tree-dwelling ancestors lost it. The neural pathways that once triggered automatic paddling simply faded away over millions of years. Most mammals swim using what scientists call the dog paddle. It is basically running underwater. The same neural circuits that control walking activate automatically when the animal hits water. Front legs, back legs, rhythmic alternating motion. The brain does not need to learn anything new. The wiring is already there. Swimming emerges from walking circuits with no additional programming required. But here is where the mystery deepens. Human babies do show some remarkable reflexes around water. Submerge an infant under 6 months old, and something fascinating happens. Their heart rate slows. They automatically hold their breath. Their circulation redirects blood toward vital organs. Scientists call this the bradycardic response. The diving reflex is strongest in newborns and gradually fades by around 12 months. Studies from 2002 found that 95% of newborns demonstrate this response within the first 72 hours of life. By 6 months, 100% of tested infants showed it reliably every baby, without exception. This reflex exists in all mammals, but is extraordinarily pronounced in diving species. Seals experience heart rate drops from 125 beats per minute to as low as 10 during extended dives. Dolphins show similar dramatic responses. Their bodies are optimized for oxygen conservation underwater. Every system slows down to preserve precious air. Human infants also make rhythmic paddling motions when placed prone in water. It looks like swimming. Parents often marvel at their baby's apparent natural ability. The movements seem coordinated, purposeful. But this is where things get complicated. These reflexes do not actually help babies swim. They cannot keep their heads above water. They cannot propel themselves anywhere meaningful. The diving response does something clever. It triggers the spleen to contract. The spleen stores oxygenated red blood cells when it squeezes. It injects that reserve of oxygen-rich blood into circulation. This can extend how long you can hold your breath by precious seconds, maybe even minutes with training. The Bajau people of Southeast Asia have taken this to extraordinary extremes. These sea nomads spend up to 60% of their working day underwater. They dive to depths of 70 meters on a single breath. Some stay submerged for over 13 minutes at a time. No scuba gear, just lungs and skill. And apparently, a genetic advantage that scientists only recently discovered. In 2018, researchers discovered something remarkable. The Bajau have spleens that are 50% larger than neighboring populations who do not dive. This is not from training. Even Bajau who never dive have enlarged spleens. It is genetic. Natural selection shaped their bodies for underwater life over 1,000 years. The researchers identified a gene called PDE10A that appears responsible. This gene affects thyroid hormone levels, which influence spleen size. The Bajau carry a variant that other populations lack. Evolution is still working on human beings, changing us in measurable ways within historical timescales. But here is the thing. The Bajau developed these adaptations recently. They do not explain why humans lost the swimming instinct millions of years ago. To understand that, we need to look at what makes human babies so different from other ape newborns. The answer involves fat. Lots of fat. Human babies are born with roughly 15% body fat. Chimpanzee newborns have about 3%. This makes us among the fattest mammalian newborns on the planet. Only certain seal species match our levels of baby blubber, and nobody is entirely sure why we evolved this way. That fat is mostly subcutaneous, meaning it sits right beneath the skin. It is the same kind of fat that insulates marine mammals. Seals have it, whales have it, dolphins have it. All those hairless aquatic creatures that need to stay warm in cold water have developed thick layers of subcutaneous fat. One theory suggests our baby fat evolved to compensate for losing our fur. Without a thick coat of hair, newborns need another way to regulate temperature. Fat provides insulation. But critics point out that human baby fat does not seem particularly optimized for warmth. Most evidence suggests it functions as an energy reserve. Human brains are metabolically expensive. They consume enormous amounts of energy. A baby's brain uses roughly 60% of all the calories they consume. That fat reserve exists to fuel brain development during periods when feeding might be inconsistent. It is a backup generator for the most complex organ in the known universe. Interestingly, this extra fat actually helps adult humans swim. Fat is less dense than water. It provides buoyancy. Humans float more easily than chimpanzees, precisely because we have more body fat. When we learn to swim, our body composition works in our favor. Chimps sink like stones. Their dense, muscular bodies have almost no natural buoyancy. For decades, zoos used water moats to keep great apes contained. It worked perfectly because chimps, gorillas, and orangutans avoid deep water instinctively. When they accidentally fell in, they often drowned. Their dense muscular bodies and lack of swimming instinct made water more dangerous than any fence. Then in 2013, researchers documented something unprecedented. A chimpanzee named Cooper, raised by humans in Missouri, taught himself to swim. He dove repeatedly into a backyard swimming pool. He seemed comfortable, even happy. He used a modified breaststroke, not the dog paddle that most mammals use instinctively. An orangutan named Shaurya in South Carolina developed similar abilities. She could swim up to 12 meters freely. Both animals used leg movements resembling the human breaststroke frog kick, rather than the typical mammalian dog paddle. Researchers believe this reflects the different motor patterns that come from arboreal life. When you live in trees, your limbs move differently than ground dwellers. You swing, you grasp, you pull yourself along branches. The neural circuits optimized for this movement are not the same ones that create the running pattern used in dog paddling. Not all primates lost swimming ability, though. Proboscis monkeys in Borneo swim regularly. They leap from branches into rivers and swim up to 20 meters underwater. Crab-eating macaques dive for shellfish with their eyes open, holding their breath for 30 seconds at a time. These species never fully committed to arboreal life. Water remained a resource worth accessing. Around 6 to 7 million years ago, our lineage split from the ancestors of modern chimpanzees. The African climate was changing. Forests were shrinking. Savannas were expanding. Some ape populations stayed in the trees. Others moved out onto the open grasslands. We became walkers, runners, persistence hunters. But even when we came down from the trees, we did not relearn to swim instinctively. The neural wiring had been gone for too long. Millions of years of arboreal evolution had erased the automatic swimming response. We kept the diving reflex because it is controlled by different, older brain structures. But the motor patterns for swimming were lost. Human babies are born with many primitive reflexes that disappear as they develop. The palmar grasp reflex makes infants automatically grip anything placed in their palm. The Moro reflex causes them to throw out their arms when startled. All of these reflexes are evolutionary remnants, echoes of our primate past. The swimming-related reflexes are similarly ancient. They exist in all mammals because drowning was always a risk. The difference between a protective reflex and a coordinated motor skill is profound. Holding your breath is simple. Your brainstem handles it automatically. But swimming requires coordinating 4 limbs, managing buoyancy, orienting in 3 dimensions. That is a complex motor program that must be learned. When humans learn to swim, we actually tend toward the same breaststroke pattern that Cooper the chimp discovered independently. Not the dog paddle. Something about our body proportions and neural organization makes the breaststroke more intuitive for us. We are not recovering a lost instinct. We are creating something new from available parts. Evidence of human swimming dates back at least 7,000 years. Cave paintings from the Stone Age show figures that appear to be swimming. Our ancestors figured it out. They learned to move through water despite having no instinct for it. Culture replaced biology. This is profoundly human. We are the species that overcomes biological limitations through learning. We cannot fly, so we build airplanes. We cannot breathe underwater, so we invent scuba gear. We cannot swim instinctively, so we teach each generation how to do it. Culture extends where evolution leaves off. But here is the thing that makes this mystery so fascinating. Even though we lost the swimming instinct millions of years ago, babies still have remnants of aquatic adaptations, the diving reflex. The breath-holding, the paddling movements, like a biological memory of something our ancestors once knew how to do. Some researchers believe early humans spent significant time near water, not living in it, but exploiting coastal and lakeside resources, shellfish, fish in tidal pools. The archaeological record shows shell middens going back hundreds of thousands of years. Wading is different from swimming. You can access shallow water resources without needing to swim. Our bipedal posture actually makes wading easier than it is for chimps and gorillas. Some scientists think omega-3 fatty acids from seafood were crucial for brain development. The archaeological evidence suggests early Homo species were eating fish, crocodiles, and turtles as far back as 2 million years ago in East Africa. The Hanyo diving women of Jeju Island in South Korea have practiced breath-hold diving for centuries. Like the Bajau, they show physiological adaptations. These populations give researchers a natural experiment. They show how quickly humans can adapt to aquatic lifestyles. Even sea otters teach their young to swim. Despite being marine mammals, otter pups are not born knowing how to navigate water. Modern infant swimming programs capitalize on babies' natural reflexes. With careful guidance, infants can learn remarkable water skills. Drowning remains the second leading cause of injury-related death in children. Around 1,000 children die from drowning each year in the United States alone. The paradox of human-water relationships runs deep. We are drawn to coastlines. We find oceans beautiful. We build civilizations around rivers. Yet we cannot swim naturally. We drown easily. Something in us loves water, even though our bodies are not designed for it. That disconnect itself might be an evolutionary echo. Perhaps our attraction to water comes from those millions of years when our ancestors used shorelines for food. The aesthetic appreciation could be a vestige of survival instinct. And those subtle webs between your fingers, that membrane connecting the base of each digit, no other ape has it. Human bodies have an interesting relationship with buoyancy. Our fat distribution, our lung capacity. We float more easily than our primate relatives. Trained freedivers can hold their breath for over 11 minutes. They can descend to depths beyond 200 meters. Humans are the only primates who can consciously control their breathing. Chimps cannot hold their breath on command. Our breath control evolved for speech, but it also enables diving. Some researchers speculate the diving reflex is strongest at birth, because that is when it was most needed. Water births, or perhaps survival during unexpected immersion events. Infants who could automatically protect their airways in water survived. Those who could not drowned. Natural selection operating on newborn populations. The mystery of why we cannot swim at birth connects to deeper questions about what makes us human. Our helplessness, our fat stores, our extended childhood, our need for intensive parenting. We traded instinct for flexibility, automatic responses for learned behaviors, biology for culture. Our ancestors had no swimming instinct, but they had hands that could shape tools, brains that could learn and teach, societies that could pass knowledge across generations. A baby chimp clings to its mother from birth and can climb trees within months. A human baby cannot even hold up its own head. But humans went to the moon. Every summer across the world, parents teach their children to swim. They support small bodies in the water. They coax tiny limbs to move in unfamiliar ways. They pass down knowledge that our species has accumulated for thousands of years. Each lesson is evolution in action. Culture picking up where biology left off. The fact that we must learn to swim makes swimming a human triumph. Other animals do it automatically. We do it through effort, teaching, and cultural transmission. There is something beautiful about that. We are the species that must work for what others receive freely, and somehow we work harder than anyone. Maybe the aquatic ape theorists were onto something, even if their hypothesis overreached. Early humans clearly exploited aquatic resources. We clearly have some unusual features compared to other apes. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle, not fully aquatic, not fully terrestrial. Something complicated and uniquely human. Our ancestors waded in shallows and dove in tidal pools. They gathered shellfish and chased fish. They were probably excellent swimmers by human standards. But they were not born knowing how. They learned, just like we do. And they taught their children, just like we do. Generation after generation for hundreds of thousands of years. If you fell asleep somewhere during this story, that is perfect. These questions have waited since before our species existed. they will still be here tomorrow. The mystery of why we cannot swim at birth is really the mystery of what we traded away to become human. Instinct for learning, automation for choice. Somewhere in your genome is the erased code for automatic swimming. It got deleted when our ancestors found a better life in the trees. The diving reflex remains like a sticky note, a reminder that the file once existed. Your body still knows something about water. It just forgot how to act on it. Human babies are born unfinished in almost every way. Unable to walk, unable to swim, unable to cling, unable to survive alone for even a moment. We are the most helpless newborns of any primate, and somehow that helplessness made us the most successful species on Earth. We needed each other from day one. Every person who swims learned from someone else. Every swimming teacher learned from someone before them. The chain goes back to the first humans who figured out how to stay afloat and move through water. We reinvent that knowledge in every generation. It never transfers automatically. It always requires effort. That child swimming across a pool is performing a minor miracle. Their brain solved a problem that millions of years of evolution could not wire in automatically. They integrated balance, breath control, limb coordination, and spatial awareness into something that feels effortless. Culture made them something evolution never could. Pregnant women often find relief in water. The buoyancy supports weight that land makes uncomfortable. Perhaps there is ancestral memory there, something ancient about water and birth and safety. Even if the connection is only psychological, even if science cannot explain it fully, some truths live in the body. The humans who swim into old age often live longer, healthier lives. The exercise is gentle on joints. The water supports bones grown fragile with years. Swimming is one of the few activities that serves humans from infancy to the final years. A skill learned in childhood that keeps giving throughout life. We began this night with a simple question. Why are humans the only primates that cannot swim at birth? The answer touches everything that makes us who we are. Our helplessness, our fat, our massive brains, our arboreal ancestors, our culture, our teaching, our endless capacity to learn what was never written in our genes. The webs between your fingers, the diving reflex in your brainstem, the fat beneath your skin. All of it whispers of a relationship with water that is more complicated than simple terrestrial apes should have. We are not aquatic, but we are not entirely of the land either. We are human, which means we are something stranger. If you are still awake, thank you for swimming through this mystery with me. And if you drifted off long ago, I hope your dreams were full of water, safe water, warm water, the kind of water our ancestors waded through while gathering food for their families, the kind of water that somehow became home. Subscribe if you want to fall asleep to more mysteries like this one. Tomorrow night, or whenever you find your way back here, there will be other questions waiting, other gaps in human knowledge that science has not closed, other reasons to wonder at how strange it is to be alive in these particular bodies. Good night. May your dreams carry you somewhere wonderful, and may you wake remembering that you descended from creatures who chose trees over water, helplessness over instinct, learning over knowing. That choice made everything else possible, including the fact that you are here, listening to this, right now. But wait. There is more to this story, because we have not yet talked about what happens inside a newborn's body when it touches water. The physiology is genuinely remarkable. Even though we cannot swim, our bodies mount a sophisticated response to submersion that suggests deep evolutionary preparation for exactly this situation. When a newborn's face touches cold water, the trigeminal nerve sends signals to the brainstem. Within milliseconds, the vagus nerve fires. Heart rate drops by 20 to 25%. Peripheral blood vessels constrict dramatically. Blood flow redirects away from extremities toward the brain and heart, all automatically. No learning required. Simultaneously, the glottis seals itself shut. Any water entering the upper respiratory tract gets diverted down the esophagus into the stomach, not into the lungs. The body essentially creates a waterproof seal around the airway. This happens in babies who have never been submerged before. Their nervous systems know exactly what to do. The neural circuits controlling this response are ancient. They sit in the brainstem, one of the oldest parts of the mammalian brain. This is not higher cognition. This is survival programming written into our nervous systems before our ancestors even had fur, before they had opposable thumbs, before they looked anything like primates. All vertebrate life emerged from water. Every mammal on Earth descends from creatures that swam through ancient seas. The diving reflex is a genetic memory of that origin. It is older than lungs themselves, older than the first animals to crawl onto land. It survived hundreds of millions of years of evolution. Because drowning has always been deadly. 375 million years ago, our ancestors were fish. They had gills. They breathed water. The transition to land took millions of years and required reinventing nearly everything about how bodies work. But some things did not need reinventing. Some responses to water just needed adjusting. The diving reflex is one of them. Think about what this means. Your newborn body knows something about water that your conscious mind will never access. When you were days old, your brainstem remembered being a fish, or at least, it remembered the need to protect airways when surrounded by the element your distant ancestors called home. Human eyes are not optimized for underwater vision. Unlike the Moken Sea nomad children who trained their eyes to focus underwater, most people see blurry shapes beneath the surface. Our corneas evolved for air. They bend light incorrectly when water replaces the air interface. Another sign we are terrestrial creatures with aquatic echoes. The great ape body plan did not develop for swimming. Broad shoulders for brachiation through trees, long arms relative to legs, heavy upper bodies, dense bones filled with marrow. All of this creates negative buoyancy. We sink because we were built to hang from branches, not float on waves. Orangutans spend almost their entire lives in trees. They rarely come to ground. Their arms are so long and their legs so short that walking on flat surfaces is awkward. Water represents pure danger to them. They evolved to avoid it completely. Rivers form impassable barriers that separate orangutan populations for millions of years. Gorillas will wade through streams but never swim across rivers. They have been observed using sticks to test water depth before crossing. They clearly understand water is dangerous. Their caution seems almost excessive for animals so powerful, but that caution probably saved countless gorilla lives throughout their evolution. Early humans probably used similar caution, finding shallow fords to cross rivers, building simple rafts for larger water obstacles, using knowledge and tools to solve problems that instinct could not handle. This pattern, using culture to compensate for biological limitations, defined our species from very early on. The first humans to cross significant water barriers did so with technology. Rafts, boats, floating logs. The colonization of Australia required crossing at least 90 kilometers of open water, roughly 65,000 years ago. Those ancient mariners could not swim that distance. They engineered their way across instead. Pacific Islanders eventually mastered ocean navigation using sophisticated sailing technology and celestial wayfinding. They colonized islands scattered across the largest ocean on Earth. None of this required instinctive swimming ability. It required intelligence, planning, boat building, and accumulated cultural knowledge passed across generations. Many human cultures built their entire civilizations around water without becoming aquatic creatures themselves. Stilt houses over lagoons, floating markets on rivers, harbor cities spanning coastlines. We shaped our environment to suit our terrestrial bodies rather than trying to become something biology did not make us. Before birth, every human floats in fluid for 9 months. Amniotic fluid fills the womb. Babies practice breathing motions, but inhale liquid, not air. They swallow amniotic fluid regularly, in some sense. We all begin our lives as aquatic creatures. Then we emerge into air and spend the rest of our lives as terrestrial animals who miss the water. The first breath is violent. A newborn's lungs have never held air. They must inflate for the first time while the baby simultaneously figures out how to clear fluid from airways. This transition from aquatic to terrestrial breathing happens in seconds. It is one of the most dangerous moments of any human life. Premature babies often struggle with this transition. Their lungs are not fully developed. Their surfactant production is incomplete. They may need breathing support for weeks or months. The aquatic to terrestrial switch that full-term babies manage automatically requires medical intervention for those born too early. Interestingly, crying serves a crucial aquatic function. Tears are produced by the lacrimal glands. They contain salt. Crying helps regulate sodium levels in the body. Some researchers have noted that humans cry tears more readily than any other primate. Whether this connects to aquatic adaptation remains speculative but intriguing. Human ears have another aquatic feature. The external auditory canal produces earwax. This waxy substance protects the eardrum from water exposure. Most mammals have some ear protection, but human earwax is uniquely hydrophobic. It repels water effectively, perhaps another adaptation for wading and shallow water food gathering. The human nose points downward. Chimp and gorilla noses are flat against the face. Our descended nose creates a hood over the nostrils. Aquatic ape theorists claim this prevents water from entering our nasal passages during swimming. Critics argue it simply evolved for better smell reception in our terrestrial environment. Human hairlessness gets attributed to many possible causes. Aquatic adaptation, thermoregulation for running, parasite avoidance, sexual selection. The honest answer is probably all of the above contributing in different proportions. Evolution rarely has single causes for major changes. Human nakedness likely had multiple interacting drivers. Our sweat glands are genuinely remarkable. Humans can produce over 2 liters of sweat per h-hour during intense activity in heat. No other primate comes close. This extraordinary sweating capacity enabled persistence hunting on the African savanna. We could run prey to exhaustion because we could cool ourselves while running. Persistence hunting requires hours of continuous running during the hottest part of the day. Prey animals with fur must stop and pant to cool down. Humans just keep sweating and running. Eventually, the prey collapses from heat exhaustion. This hunting strategy only works because we are naked and can sweat efficiently. The downside of sweating is dehydration. Humans need constant access to water. We cannot range far from water sources without carrying supplies. This constraint shaped human settlement patterns for hundreds of thousands of years. We stayed near rivers and lakes. We knew every water source in our territory. Water meant life. Ancient trade routes followed water sources. Cities grew where rivers met. Civilizations rose and fell based on water availability. The Nile, the Tigris and Euphrates, the Indus, the Yellow River. Human history is written in water, even though we cannot swim through it instinctively. Egyptians built boats from bundled papyrus reeds 5,000 years ago. Polynesians constructed double-hulled canoes that crossed thousands of miles of open ocean. Vikings sailed wooden ships to North America. Humans mastered water travel without ever becoming aquatic creatures. Technology always compensated for biology. Today, we cross oceans in air-conditioned comfort. Massive ships carry thousands of people who never need to enter the water at all. Swimming pools on boats let us experience water recreationally, while steel hulls protect us from its dangers. We tamed the oceans without evolving a single aquatic instinct. Humans now live in space. We created artificial environments where terrestrial creatures can survive in the vacuum. If we can do that, learning to swim seems almost trivial by comparison. The species that cannot swim instinctively figured out how to survive where there is no water at all. That is profoundly human. Every summer, children discover the ocean for the first time. They feel sand between their toes. They taste salt water. They learn that waves are playful and dangerous both at once. Each child recapitulates what our species learned over thousands of generations. Water is wonderful. Water is deadly. Water requires respect. Lifeguards exist because humans cannot swim instinctively. We need trained watchers to rescue those in trouble. We need designated safe swimming areas. We need warnings about currents and depths. Our relationship with water requires constant cultural infrastructure to prevent the deaths our biology makes possible. The moment a child first swims independently is genuinely moving. Arms reach forward, legs kick behind. Head turns to breathe. Every element of that coordination was learned. Nothing was given by genes. That child did something no instinct could provide. They built a skill from nothing but instruction and practice. Humans who learn to love water often carry that love through entire lifetimes. Morning swims that become daily rituals. Beach vacations that mark family milestones. The sound of waves that becomes synonymous with peace. Water shapes our memories even as it remains fundamentally foreign to our biology. Rain connects us to water without requiring swimming. Standing in gentle rain, listening to drops on a roof, watching storms approach across open landscapes. Our ancestors experienced these same sensations for millions of years. Water from the sky remains safe. Water you must cross remains dangerous. The distinction runs deep in our psychology. Some of the most profound human experiences involve water. Baptism, ritual purification, the journey across rivers in mythology. Water holds symbolic power in virtually every culture, perhaps because we recognize its dual nature, life-giving and life-taking, essential and dangerous, sacred precisely because it can destroy us. Hot springs appear in human cultures worldwide. People soak in warm water for relaxation and healing. The womb-like warmth, the floating sensation, the release of muscle tension. Something about warm water touches us at a level deeper than conscious thought, perhaps a memory of floating in amniotic fluid before birth. Float tanks have become popular for sensory deprivation therapy. People float in warm salt water in total darkness. They report profound relaxation, altered states of consciousness. Some describe it as returning to the womb. We seek out experiences of floating even though evolution took away our instinct for it. Underwater ecosystems contain beauty. We can only visit briefly: coral reefs, kelp forests, deep ocean vents. We developed scuba gear to explore these worlds. We built submarines to go deeper. We yearn to know what lies beneath the surface, even though we were not built to live there. Cave diving is among the most dangerous activities humans engage in. Narrow passages, zero visibility, disorientation, limited air supply. People die pursuing these experiences. Yet divers keep going back. The pull of underwater exploration overwhelms rational caution for some. Water calls to something inside us that defies explanation. Dolphins interact with humans voluntarily in the wild. They approach boats, they ride bow waves. They seem genuinely curious about us. Perhaps they recognize something kindred. Another intelligent social mammal, one that lost its swimming instinct but keeps coming back to the water anyway. 2 evolutionary experiments. Meeting in the ocean. Whale watching has become a global phenomenon. Millions of people travel to see these returned land mammals who mastered what we could not. Whales evolved from terrestrial ancestors. Their flippers contain finger bones. They went back to the ocean and became something magnificent. We went the other direction and became something different. Water shaped everything about life on Earth. Our bodies are mostly water. Our cells require it. Our brains float in it. We cannot survive more than a few days without drinking it. Yet we cannot breathe it, cannot live in it. We depend on water absolutely while remaining permanently separated from true aquatic existence. Tears remind us of our connection to water at unexpected moments. Joy produces them, grief produces them, frustration and relief and exhaustion all produce them. We leak salt water from our eyes when emotions overwhelm us. Perhaps the most human thing about us is that we cry, and no one fully understands why. Looking at water in moonlight touches something primal. Humans have done this for hundreds of thousands of years, sitting beside rivers, standing on beaches, watching light play on moving surfaces. This experience of beauty and danger intertwined might be among the oldest continuous human emotions. Children dream of underwater worlds. They imagine breathing beneath waves. They create stories of mermaids and sea monsters. The water that terrifies parents becomes adventure for young minds. Perhaps because children remember floating in the womb, perhaps because imagination has no instincts to lose. This mystery ends where all mysteries end, not with answers, but with appreciation for the questions. Why cannot humans swim at birth? Because we traded instinct for learning, because our ancestors chose trees over water, because we became the teaching species instead of the knowing species. Your body remembers water in ways your mind cannot access. The diving reflex in your brainstem, the subtle webs between your fingers, the fat layer beneath your skin. Evolution left traces of a relationship that has been complicated for millions of years. We are not aquatic, but water shaped us anyway. Sleep well. Let the mystery of water carry you somewhere restful. Tomorrow you might swim in a pool, or stand in a shower, or drink a glass of cold water on a hot day. Each of those moments connects you to your ancestors, to the fish they descended from, to the apes who forgot how to swim. Good night. May your dreams float peacefully through whatever mysteries call to you tonight. Sleep well.